Hello, I welcome everybody who joined us. My name is Olga Atamanova, and I'm happy to welcome you in the Media Center. Today we will be talking about the experience, about challenges, about possibilities of Ukraine in documentation of the war crimes of the Russian Federation. The full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation against Ukraine generated thousands of crimes, and we were witness to all of those, to some of those. And our task is to not only gather the facts, but also verify their true veritability and that can withstand national and international institutions' checks. And we are living today in the age of modern technologies, and these technologies help us in finding the truth. They help us to fixate the crimes and to facilitate the process of proving those crimes in the court. And we will be talking about one of those tools today, and we're talking about the application eyeWitness, which was developed by the organization Eyewitness to Atrocities, which works in all the corners of the world and is specializing in documentation of such crimes. I will present to you Oleksandr Ziuz, head of the Department for Interaction with Intergovernmental, State and Non-Governmental Organizations, the Office for Organizational and Methodological and Analytical Support, from the Prosecutor's Office, Dmytro Hladkyi. He is also representative of eyeWitness to Atrocities in Ukraine, Uliana Poltavets, International Advocacy and Ukraine Program Coordinator and Physicians for Human Rights, Yaroslav Susoiev, Manager Documenters at Hounds, and Maryna Slobodyanuk, Coordinator of Training and Strategic Project at Hounds, who will join later. First of all, I would like to give mic to you, Mr. Dmytro, and what is this application? How did it appear? What are its possibilities? And what are some results? Maybe. Yes. So the experts are determining that the war of the Russian Federation against Ukraine is one of the most documented wars. However, those crimes are as significant as they are so significant and practically concrete that they demand its confirmation on the national and international legal levels. So. The International Organization of Lawyers that invented this application and launched its operation in Ukraine. The main goal was to create such audiovisual materials that one could use in a legal field. For example, a photo or video clips that were created by the application eyeWitness are authentic. They cannot be forged technically. They create metadata that show precise location that the pictures were taken at, and geolocation and chronological location too. So where and when the picture was taken. In the case that the user wants to deliberately or non-deliberately change these metadata, the application will not allow them to do it. So it is not possible technically to provide false information to the court. However, these pictures can be used by a malevolent person different other aims, and it can be used both by the journalists and by the lawyers, no problem. And the Russian Federation, that is known to use actively use propaganda against Ukraine, both against Ukraine and the world. So the existence of such an application that is serving as a tool for the legal representatives and is serving a great role in convincing the end user, the end viewer, in the fact that it is authentic. It is used. The system of cryptography is also used when the picture is taken, it's encrypted, then it is sent to the eyeWitness servers from there, and those servers are supported by the International Organization of the Lawyers, and which is quite an old and big organization. It's quite powerful and authoritative too. It allows to preserve such evidences that can be even kept forever, for infinity, and this is the instrument that can be used as long judicially or legally as is required, and such material that is saved on servers, it can be passed over to other representatives of the government or law enforcement. So by request, the primary materials could be provided for investigation, or additional materials and the primary analysis of these pictures can be also present for use in work. We know a lot of cases when Russia, as an aggressor, used in propaganda the pictures and materials from the armed conflict in Syria or other corners of the world, and the check for the date and the geolocation is very important to find out the truth. And this is decided, which is finally decided in a court or in an international court in the United Nations organization. At the same time, one has to pay attention to the fact that there is a lot of witnesses of among the civil population that become witnesses to the war crimes, and this is of course this is a result of Russian Federation's breaking of all possible rules, and people of course are naturally trying to take pictures or shoot footage of those deeds. So they are used sometimes in order to illustrate certain war crimes. So this application does not deprive people from this possibility. However, if a person becomes a witness to a war crime, then the International Organization of the Lawyers provides the possibility to analyze, to make this picture legally valid, and also simplify the methodology of the picture shooting and taking or footage by simplified rules, as in order for it to be legally valid still. So there is a lot of work is being done that the eyeWitness is, so to speak, adds to. So in this case, it is a possibility to receive additional information from the location where the war crime happened before the containment of the consequences starts. So, if the other side in the court puts under doubt such pictures, then this technology has this possibility to add weight to the evidence. So the possibility to check this evidence, in order to prove that this evidence is false, and there is this application is involved, then it's practically impossible. I, as a lawyer, always ask myself, if I had to prove those materials false, what would I do? And I don't find such a way. So I am coming to a conclusion that we are now in possession of a tool that actually helps us fight against the enemy propaganda, disinformation. It allows to compactly form legal and other happenings could be provided. This information could be provided to population, both to population, to the national level legal organizations, and to international level legal organizations. So it is very important in joined in together with the armed forces of Ukraine on one hand, and with legal efforts on the other hand. So in practice, Ukraine has the possibility to fixate the war crimes, record war crimes of the Russian Federation, and both national level prosecutors and the national organizations take them as valid. We need to remember that first and foremost, any kind of documentation has to be happening safely. So anyone who is deciding whether they need to use this application or not, they need to first think about the safety. The technical details are covered by the application itself. So there is no there isn't any kind of standards or requirements that are obligatory or mandatory in order for the material obtained to be deemed as valid. So the team that is standing behind the application is very professional. They're working on the side of the justice, and Ukrainian law enforcement organizations and structures are also working along with the legal representatives, and so you can use any kind of materials in this application. So in terms of access, the Ukrainian version will have the possibility to assess those pictures and preliminarily be determined as such as are showing the atrocities of the Russian Federation armed forces. So the procedure and technology, the application has been working for a few years. So how many times have you been addressed through this application? I, as a person who is very convinced and who believes in this application, and based on my own experience, I know that the evidences have to be convincing. And I myself do the documentation activities in my home hometown, and I do hundreds and hundreds of videos and photos, and I wish nobody in Ukraine has to do these kinds of pictures or photos, of course. However, I have to say there is more than 5,000 pictures already collected that reflect the war crimes committed by the Russian Federation against Ukraine. And I know that our law enforcement forces and Western legal organizations have access to this to these materials that were collected with the use of this application. So it helps to start cases in the courts. So, Mr. Dmytro, I would like to ask you about the challenges that you are facing when you are documenting the war crimes of the Russian Federation, and what is your experience with the digital evidences. Thank you. I'm very glad to be here among our partners because both the International Organization of Lawyers and Witness to Atrocities and Truth Hounds, they are systemic partners that we are constantly cooperating with, and when we have some kind of request, we know who to go to. And when talking about challenges, when I said about the safety, the first challenge is the investigative actions in the frontline territories, because we think that our team of investigators and prosecutors that are doing the investigation in the areas, so those teams already have, unfortunately, losses in Sumy, for example, in Sumy region. Just recently in the Kherson region, there was an attack against the personal vehicle of one of the prosecutors. And first and foremost, it's the safety for us, for the citizens of Ukraine too. And so the safety in terms of protection from rockets or missiles that are against double tapping by the Russian Federation, which is used in the Kherson Oblast and Sumy Oblast. So this is very important to document these cases. Also, the sheer amount of the crimes that were committed, it's more than 2,000 war crimes were already registered in the intercourt register, and with such an amount, it is quite hard to cope for any system, and the load is insane for the investigators and prosecutors. So we're trying to prioritize our activities. We're trying to use digital solutions. The third challenge is, I think, the necessity to restructurization of some kind, and the provision of analytics, the typological separation of crimes, finding the patterns and such things like analysis of open sources or of some information that's coming from the Russian Federation about maybe about certain Russian military personnel that were committing in Kherson or in other regions of Ukraine that were fixated by cameras. Another thing that I would say that is important is the exchange of information. I think this is quite important because in order to avoid duplication and allocate resources correctly, and to avoid traumatizing the people that were witnesses to the the war crimes, it is really important to implement some kind of systematization, and because in order to put to justice, in order to do justice for those who became victims of the war crimes, so such challenges and the exchange of information between the platforms from our prosecutor's office, there is a memorandum of understanding with the International Organization of Lawyers, and there is additional information that is located on the eyeWitness platform. So we developed for ourselves certain algorithms that we are using in our everyday work. So we are documenting the crimes within the frame of the Ukrainian law, and after that, if it's in the focus of if it falls in the focus of the international organizations, we are providing all necessary information, and this is how we are going to facilitate bringing the justice. So, are there any cases that are that have provided some kind of concrete results? I think that military commissariat of the Crimea, the case was built upon the evidences that came from the open source, and we don't have access to the territory, and these kinds of evidences help us receive the data from the territory that is inaccessible as of right now for the Ukrainian law enforcement forces, for the legal representatives, and this was the first case that went through all the stages of the court proceedings, and we are seeing it as an example of a allowable extent of using the open sources and using the metadata and other additional technological means for validity, it is even better. So in the courts, the validation, how does it happen in practice? Well, we know that any kind of evidence can be put under doubt, and when we're gathering information about some kind of picture to make the picture full, we are, for example, getting an information that a person was at a certain time at a certain place, and this information is cross checking with other evidences, and this way we can use this as a evidence of validity for this material. Ms. Uliana, the question for you, we understand that for the Russian Federation, the priority is our civilians and our civilian infrastructure, which is put under attacks all the time. So what do you see? What do you fixate? How do you fixate the crimes connected to the infrastructure? Hello, I'm very pleased to be here. I represent the Physicians for Human Rights organization that is occupied by documentation of the crimes in Ukraine and other countries. When the full-scale invasion began, one of the most outstanding pictures that there was a nursery home, everybody remembers, and it was, and our team has already witnessed such similar crimes in Syria, where Russia was playing a key role in attacking the infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, health infrastructure, and that's when we understood what is going on, and so we started to follow to track the periodicity of such attacks in Ukraine, and we also cooperated with the Truth Hounds, and we developed such a database that allows us to see these attacks in dynamics geographically, which allowed us in turn to analyze patterns, and which allowed us in turn to say that yes, these attacks are systematic, and these are war crimes and potentially crimes against humanity. So starting the full-scale invasion, we documented more than 2,000 attacks of such kind against health vehicles, medical vehicles, medical infrastructure. We can also say that other critical deliberate and unproportional attacks are quite standard for the Russian Federation, and on average it's 2 attacks per day. And one has to understand that this is not only crimes against certain buildings or infrastructure or medical system. These are the attacks that also happen on the occupied territories, and the events on the occupied territories when the occupational authorities use the local residents' health as a mean to control them. And we have seen some hospitals or clinics being transformed into military base. We can see that the access to the healthcare depends on the Russian passport. If you don't have a Russian passport, you will not receive any medicine. And also such people could also be deported from the territory of the Russian Federation if they don't possess a Russian passport. Also on the former Ukrainian, on the occupied territories, such people of medical healthcare system, they are being persecuted. They are constantly being freed from detainment, but it is a very difficult and intensive process. And we seeing some other factors that are influence. That affect the level of the services provided. According to our investigation, more than 90% of the medical workers informed us that they had outages, electrical outages in their clinics, and that this could potentially affect the medical services provision to the population. And of course, these attacks, they directly put under threat the operation of the medical facilities and the health of the patients. It also affects the fulfillment of the medical workers of their duties. And we know that the medical facility, any medical facility, can be attacked, and we know that from our own experience. We remember the attack against Ahmadit, where the doctors, the patients, the children died. They were traumatized, received different injuries, and all these materials become a proof basis for the case against the Russian Federation. We are working in close cooperation with the Investigation Commission of the UN, the International Court of the UN too, and we also together at the same time when we started doing this work, we faced real challenges in terms of authentication of or validation and verification of those materials that are obtained during the examination of the attack locations, and there was one case when we were examining the site in Gostomel. There was a medical facilities where the Russian troops basically made a base, a military base, and we had pictures, videos, evidences from the medical workers that were inside, actually, and it was very important to have additional materials that could connect all those links into one legitimate chain of proofs, and the pictures from the eyewitness actually helped us to show that there is a civilian infrastructure around, and there is civilians walking everywhere, and there is a medical facility there. And this is just a normal living building where just normal inhabitants live. And to finalize, I would like to emphasize that documentation is only the first step. And we were talking about this already. We have a lot of materials and a lot of different things documented, and this is nice, but we need to transition to analyze the systematicity, the analysis of the patterns, and I'm glad that we started with the that we could create this cooperation framework in order to avoid duplication and in order to avoid unnecessary work, and to provide the joint product that we are certain of. So I'm grateful to my colleagues for involvement. Mr. Yaroslav, Truth Hounds, as we understand, has been doing documentation for some time already, so you're working in the fields, you're gathering these evidences. So these digital solutions, how do they help you? First of all, thank you for joining this event. Indeed, the Truth Hounds, it was a self-organized initiative. A little bit later, it became, 2014, it became an NGO. It has been documenting war crimes, international war crimes, and if we're talking about the additional applications as those like eyeWitness, we started to use them in 2022. And in reality, it actually facilitated a lot our work. And I can show you an example that will show you that it is indeed facilitating our work. So the verification of the information that is provided by the eyewitnesses is great, and we are doing that. And before we started using the eyewitness, we used mostly the video recordings of certain attacks, for example. And we had developed a detailed algorithm of how, without such an application that would save these materials automatically and validating these materials automatically, how to do the recording. So it was quite a complex algorithm. We had to use the compass. We had to make a big panorama shot of a location that we are shooting at, and we needed to put some objects, to put some objects in the frame that would serve as landmarks for the investigators to later use them as a validation point. And when, for example, there was an artillery fire, it was really hard to work shooting these videos. So and the amount of time that we were using for shooting these videos, it could take even longer, depending on how what was the algorithm, and sometimes it led to some of the documentators to not actually go and make any fixation of the crimes, and unfortunately, and so for some portions of these algorithms were removed thanks to the eyeWitness application. I would like to ask you, as a person that is working with this application directly, for our listeners to hear how to correctly document a crime. Well, everything depends on the type of the crime that we're working with, and if we're talking about the consequences of an attack, first of all, one has to take care of their own safety, and depending on the time that passed since the attack, and taking into account the double tap tactics that the Russian Federation is using, it's maybe better to delay the activities of recording the event for the next day. However, on despite the evident, obvious advantages of the application eyeWitness, I would still recommend to take into account the context of the surroundings into account as much as possible. So, avoiding at all costs becoming a target of these attacks. So, maximum when you do the recording, actually, you have to actually focus on the evidences. This could be pieces of shrapnel and details, different details. It's important. Details are important. So, what are the volume of the evidence you have to provide? Well, it also depends on the type of attack, and sometimes even after 2 months since the attack passed, since the attack happened, it is still possible to find a lot of evidence that show that the attack happened, and actually show the process and consequences of this attack. So this document. Is it better to use the video format, or a photo format could be also useful as evidence? I think, in my opinion, the video recording is in any case more reliable and can provide more context, and this one file can contain much more information. I think that people that are actually analyzing these materials, it is easier for them to work with videos. Maybe any additions? From my experience, I have noticed that on the at the event location, the civilians, the citizens, they take cameras and do those pictures almost instinctively. So I understand that there is a shock, and there could be some time passing after the attack. However, it does happen. It's a fact, and maybe sometimes pictures are not going anywhere. They are kept at the phone, and they are not sending. So after first contact with the internet will be done. Application is providing the transfer of safe transfer of files to the servers of the application from different authors, from different locations, and you never know when some kind of really small detail can add this small piece of information that can make a breakthrough in some case. In those cases when the evidences are very when, for example, such attacks as double tap strikes are happening, and I unfortunately was close witness to this event. A lot of people were injured, and it was important to understand at the time that it will be very, very important to show the context, the damage, and after that there was basically 2 hours. And in 2 hours, if you manage to get those materials recorded, and after 2 hours there is a second strike, it provides the possibility to do the recording. The application provides the possibility to do the recording quite fast. So it focuses briefly, then you make a picture or shoot a video, and it is maximum safety and security. And which organizations are using these kinds of evidences? First of all, I would like to add a little bit that the video is actually indeed provides much more information and is carrying much more meaning about the events that were happening during these or those attacks, and they are providing us the possibility to fixate the consequences of the attacks. And I think in the international court as well, that the videos that were recorded on the territory of Ukraine about, for example, torture chambers helped the Ukrainian part to actually prove the validity of these recordings. So for us, it just becomes an example, or this can be an addition, basically, to a protocol of examination. So the eyewitness, for example, if the eyewitness of atrocities finds certain connections to a certain person, we can basically attach a video material to these claims, and having additional information to the video would provide an additional possibilities to prove the crime. And it also provides us to the possibility to provide those videos within and be on par with the international standards. So it helps in the best way possible to record the events as they were. We would like to invite Ms. Maryna. She is the head of the training center of Truth Hounds. So your experience is a little bit different. So will you please share with us? Hello. Yes. Thank you for your invitation. I'm very honored to be among such respectable people and speaking about the experience. I would like to first touch upon the importance of such tool. There were many words that are estimating this tool as positive. However, I would like to focus on such a phenomenon as processing economy, preceding economy. So the amount of data that was accumulated starting the existence of humanity, it is unprecedented right now, and the load on all the links of the governmental structures is making for a lot of pressure against those links, and these evidences are as is if those evidences could be transformed into something that could be processed in a rapid and efficient way, basically shorten it. So yeah, in this context, this application is providing an immense help and is being a very reliable and verified instrument of investigative and recording activities, and also if it is if, for example, a piece of information is providing enough evidence for proving this or that article, it is not developing. It stops right there, and in order to avoid unnecessary additional volumes of information, and I think these solutions are nice. I think they're good because it helps facilitate the weight I was talking about in the beginning. So coming from our realities, not all our representatives of the law enforcement forces can afford to have application tools that are facilitating their investigative activities. So this is why this is a very good application, which is also recognized internationally, and our efforts for the justice. It is very pleasant. It is very pleasant to see different international organizations that are helping us to register the information that could become evidence for the international court, and it is basically an increase of the level that we are operating at, and it is good to have such tools and operate them. And so about the challenges and trainings that we're doing, it is quite hard, even from the open source intelligence. These events are happening for days. Because there is so many topics, there is so many tools and instruments. It's as various as the information field itself, and the spectrum of the crimes that the Russians are committing on the territory of Ukraine is very, very wide. So starting from the security and safety. And which is very important, because even when a person starts an open source intelligence activities, it is still very important to take care of their own security, safety, and also the search for information. And we're not talking about Googling, and we are talking about much more complex instruments, cross-platform aggregators, huge databases specifically aimed at this. This is photography identification methodologies. There is a lot of different resources that are using the artificial intelligence that helps us to conduct very fast searches for these or that data about a certain person. So we had a case when a Russian military officer, there was a picture of him and we had a picture of his son from the Vkontakte.ru site, and we were not sure, and so we used this commercial search engine, and it helped us actually to find this person, and we understood that we are we're seeing one of those military persons that committed war crimes on the territory of Kharkiv region in Ukraine. So in 2021, even before due time, there was an orientation letter about Berkeley Protocol use in the investigations where there are digital proofs are circulating. So this Berkeley Protocol adaptation is about the systematization and keeping of the information that's being collected, so the analysis and verification and structurization of the information is what has to be done. These preliminary activities are very important to later provide necessary data that would validate the proofs, basically, or evidences. So you can collect whole pictures and dossiers and cases folders, and that's why I touched upon this topic very, very briefly, because this topic is very, very huge. There is like thousands of tools and instruments, and their choice depends on your goal, basically. So depending on what are you using those tools for, you are using this or that tool, and this is basically your success depends on this. And if I'm allowed to continue the topic about the incident that Uliana mentioned, the Mariupol nursery house, birthing house. We did a small investigation as well, and only thanks to somebody, it was not spread like it is now. So there is a huge digital archive online where you can save those pages online, and somebody saved those articles screenshots, and only thanks to those saved screenshots we were able to prove the involvement of the Russian armed forces in this attack, and also to show that the Russian Federation is actively using propaganda when conducting combat activities. And thanks to this archive, we were also able to investigate the whole sequence of the false information that was provided by the Russian Federation, which helped us to prove that it was a deliberate attack planned beforehand. Thank you, Ms. Maryna. Thank you for sharing with us. I would like to pass the mic to the floor. If anybody has commentaries, comments, questions, opinions, you can ask or tell us. No questions. I have a final question. If Dmytro, for you, if a person, a Ukrainian, wants to join this application, what do they need to do? Is it free, actually? And what is the algorithm of actions? Well, for this, it is enough to visit the application store, go through a very fast registration, fill out the registration form, and have this application at hand in order for it be accessible in the necessary time. And if you actually have the wish to join these activities which are aimed at proving the war crimes committed by the Russian Federation in Ukraine. So technically, a person will be doing the video or picture shooting through this app. right? Yes, it is not. It's not more. It's not harder than using your native camera. However, the weight that it will bear as a proof for national and international level of investigators and lawyers, it will be immeasurable. The possibility to act in the direction of attaining the justice is something that anybody can do. Anybody can join the justice. I would like to also add there is this detail about safety that the application itself allows the user to use it anonymously, and any kind of materials or photos or videos they are used without the context, and so to speak. And I also emphasize that not only it is helping justice, you can do it without worrying for your own safety, and when using the application itself. So I thank you very much. This is a challenge for our society. Of course, the responsibility of the country aggressor has to be proved, and I wish it would be proved, and I thank you for collection and for bringing Russia to justice. So I thank you, everyone who is involved in this difficult and very wide work, and also to the armed forces of Ukraine, of course, that allow us to gather here and discuss these topics. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes.